go step by step to do a mountainscape. Thank you so much for following along today. I hope you guys have fun. Let's get to it. So I'm going to solidify my outline here, and I'm actually going to come in with my blue and just kind of finalize where I want this to be. If you only have pencils at home, I want you to switch from doing your sketcher's hold, which is the 4 fingers on top, thumb underneath, and I want you to switch that over to your writer's hold. Now your writer's hold could be 1 finger on top, 2 fingers on top, 3 fingers on top, the claw grasp. Okay. It also might be how Taylor Swift holds her pencil. I don't know. How do you hold a pencil? That's how I want you to do it, because it's whatever you feel most comfortable with. Identify which of your mountains is in the foreground, which means that it's closer to you, which one is in the background, which is the one furthest from you. So I have 3 mountains here, maybe you have more. So I'm going to push, I think, the back one in the middle. I'm going to push this guy into the back. And then I don't want my mountains to be perfect. Nature scenes, you actually want imperfection. Imperfection looks way more natural than perfection does. So we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves the opportunity to be imperfect. It's okay to be imperfect. Okay. Figuring where I want to have my horizon line. I do have a tree in here, so I'm just going to use that little triangle in there. I have that little bit of ground, and off to the side as well. Now yours does not have to look like mine. I have 2 little bits of ground over here. You might not want to do that. I'm going to put in place where I want to see the highlight reflection in my water. I'm not going to push very hard though, so you can tell like the lines that I'm using here are much more dull than what I was using for everything else. Okay, now you can stop here. If you want to do it in watercolor, absolutely possible. If you want to learn how to do it in a watercolor, drop it down into the comment section. I'm going to be turning this into an acrylic painting, but if you want to learn how to do it in watercolor, send me a DM, drop it into the comment section, let me know. 100% yes, this can be a watercolor painting. All of my paintings can be watercolor paintings. I never know if somebody wants to learn it in acrylic or in watercolor, so if that's for you, just let me know and I can make that for you, okay? All right, but what I'm going to do today, it's actually going to use this Faber-Castell, this Pit Artist pen, and it's an SB, it's a brush. So this cool thing I'm about to show you here, you can be really, really delicate with the amount of pressure you're applying and make these really nice thin lines. And I'm just going back over and retracing where my mountain is. Again, I don't want to be perfect with this because I'm looking for more of like a realistic type of mountain, which has bumps and ridges, and you know, maybe there was a big storm and a big chunk of the rock face came off. You know, maybe there's been a lot of growth of trees on my mountain. I don't know. What are you doing with yours? Okay, from here you're going to find the tallest point in your mountain, and you're going to break your mountain in 2. Now, when you do this, you can see here I'm rotating my pen, okay, which is making the twists and turns look a little bit more natural rather than coming straight down the mountain. Okay, and I'm going to do this for all 3 of my mountains. But I don't know where my light source is going to be yet. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to force a light source to happen with my mountains. I want to kind of envision that it's more bright in here, which would mean these parts of the mountain needs to be a little bit lighter. The other side has to be darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn our brush on its side. So this brush pen here, it's going to go on its side. I'm dropping down my hand, and then we're going to come in and we're going to flick. You have to make sure you do a full flick as fast as you can, coming away from the side of the mountain, okay? Because if we're going to be really slow, you get lines like this, which this isn't what we're going for. We want to go for something like this, okay? So get right close, and then as fast as you can, it's the flick of the wrist that really, really gives you that kind of design, that technique that we're going for. Okay. Now, remember when I told you that imperfection is more realistic in nature? This is one of those times. Don't try to control it. Allow the chaos to kind of fuel the creativity, okay? Already, we can see an established shadow pattern beginning to emerge. We don't want to stop here. We're going to go to the underside. We're going to come over here. We're going to go in the same direction. So pulling it up towards the center of the mountain to give it more definition. The higher the contrast, the more realistic something is going to appear. So we want to make sure we're permitting that high level of contrast. There we go. Okay, now just because this is the lighter side, it doesn't mean that we leave it blank. So we have to make sure we add something in here. Now, we can be very, very delicate and add in just a few little bits of design. Just a few lines here and there. Maybe some of the rock face came off. That's up to you. What do you want to do with yours? There we go. Okay. Now, same thing on the other side, and we do that flick of the wrist to give the illusion of shadow, and it's all about moving quickly. Do you see how we have these really beautiful little lifts happening with each brush stroke? Take your time with it, pull it down. You can see that I'm doing it on an angle. We don't want to go straight down, we don't want to go side to side. And this is the same thing when you're coming in to do your brush strokes when we get into paint it. Because if you're painting just up and down or side to side, it's going to look flat. I don't want it to look flat for you. We're going to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, coming in on the other side and pulling up towards the top. It'll be a little bit darker over here. I want to have a nice high contrast ratio because I want to make sure that I can separate the mountain in the center from the mountain on the right-hand side. I'm going to pull it up a little bit higher over here because it looks really bare there. And then again, just kind of relaxing my wrist, adding in a bit more detail over here on the side. Because we don't want it to be blank. We can have it be light, but we cannot leave it blank. Okay, a little bit darker over here on the edge. If you don't have one of these markers at home, that's okay. You can actually use the Crayola ones, actually work really, really well. So if you only have like Crayola markers at home, 100% you can actually still do this. Because it's not about the supplies, it's about the technique. It's the flick of the wrist. Allow your wrist to flick out of the way. Okay, all right. Coming in here, very, very gentle. Just a few little designs. Okay, now from here, I want to come in. I'm actually going to add in a tree line. So first I add the line for the center part of the tree, and then doing some horizontal lines coming down towards the base, which is going to be my horizon line. Now, how many you choose to do, that's a you question. Maybe you want to do a ton of trees, maybe you only want to do a couple. Maybe you have an entire forest. That's up to you. I like to add trees. I like to add trees into my outlines because it's fantastic for providing just a little extra layer of depth. Now maybe you don't want to add trees, maybe you want to add in some other elements. So you know what? I said that I was going to turn this into an acrylic painting, but honestly, I think this might be really pretty as a watercolor. And using this ink outline as a base on that watercolor, so I think that's what we're going to do. So this is going to be a watercolor painting instead of an acrylic painting. If you want it to be an acrylic painting, drop it into the comment section to let me know, because absolutely I can turn it into an acrylic, but the more that I draw this in, the more I am absolutely certain this would make a beautiful watercolor. And I might get super colorful with this one, just an FYI. Because I can just kind of see colors formulating in my head while I'm doing the outline on this. If you don't want to go super duper colorful, 100%, that's okay. You do not have to. I'm going to go colorful though. If you're doing the ink illustration outline, that is perfect for doing watercolor. If you don't want to do color, you can leave it as an ink illustration. If you want to go acrylic or gouache, gouache is a lovely medium. And if you just have like a regular pen at home, that works too. If you were using a Crayola washable marker, you cannot put watercolor over top. And the reason is watercolor is made with water, and Crayola markers are water soluble. Water soluble markers means that when you put water on top of them, they are going to reactivate and they are going to bleed. That means that they are going to blend in to whatever pigments you're going to be applying next to or on top of, okay? So if you want to do watercolor, if you're doing an ink illustration outline, if you're using like a fine liner, if you're using an illustration pen, those ones are done with an ink that is not water soluble, which means that you can apply it and then paint over top. If you're going to be doing this with Crayola markers, the Crayola markers, if you put watercolor on top, you're going to end up bleeding your colors. So if you want to do Crayola watercolor first, and then put the Crayola on top afterwards. I'm having way too much fun with this. I love it. So almost done doing the outline of my trees. Recreating my horizon line. Add in just a few little lines near to the horizon. Nice and gentle. And then this tree in the front needs to be added in. When you add in these kinds of trees, we want to be really, really delicate with the amount of pressure we're applying and the length of the tree branches at the top. And then as you come down, the tree branches start to weigh a little bit heavier, and they're going to swing side to side. They thicken up as they go, and as you swing side to side, leave some gaps. Again, imperfection in nature scenes looks more realistic. And we're going to bring it all the way down until it meets the bottom. If you want, because some trees will meet the bottom, some tree trunks would be visible. What kind of tree are you making? There we go. All right, over on this side, and I want to give the illusion that there's some grass happening over here. Adding in the underside. Extra little bits of grass. And same over here. Now, if you did this in pencil, then went back over with ink illustration pen, you're going to want to erase the initial outline. I did mine in pencil crayon, but that's all right because I'll be painting over top of it and I'm not going to notice it later. So that's all right. And there we have it. That was rather fun. Okay. From here, I'm going to be turning this one into a watercolor painting. If you want to follow along with that tutorial, you can follow along in the next video. If you want to see how this turns into an acrylic painting, drop it into the comment section. Let me know that you'd like to see it in acrylic so I can make that tutorial. Thank you guys so much for following along. I hope you had fun. Remember to be kind, and as always, stay colorful.